All right, good afternoon, Wave Country. Wave meteorologist Brian Good on this Thursday afternoon update. Had a lot of data to go through here today, so want to make sure we had everything lined up to try to throw a lot at you as usual for data coming up for the weekend and beyond. A lot to talk about today, so I appreciate you guys joining. Hello, Renee, Loretta, Karen. As always, you guys can comment on our social media pages, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, or what's the other one? Oh, yeah. Well, is that all of them? YouTube, Twitter. I don't know. I get them all confused anymore. X, you got the idea. All right. Appreciate you guys watching as always. So let's get right into the snowboard. We'll start there, as there is at least a change that is showing up for early next week. But let me caution you guys as we head into today. There is going to be at least a little bit of a delay on getting data on this, only because we have a couple of other systems, or at least steps we've got to get through before we get to really the Monday afternoon one. So I'll explain why that's on the board and why it still has the potential to disappear off the board too. But I do think at least it deserves a spot for now. It is a low-end chance, but it's there. Looking beyond that, which I will get to, heading closer to Christmas, there's at least some interesting weather that tries to develop across the lower 48. We'll see whether or not we can get down some of that interesting stuff or not coming up in just a second. Live view there at Ollie International. You see a nice blue sky overhead, a little bit on the dusty side, a little closer to the ground, only because of not too far away from the landfill. A lot of dust being kicked up. We have a strong amount of sinking air today, very large high pressures. You'll see in a second that's over us. So that's allowing the air, any kind of dust like that gets kicked up and just lingers there close to the ground. So if you're going down I-65, you may notice that near the outer loop in Fern Valley. And they're also doing a controlled burn near Iroquois Park area. So there may be a bit of haze and smoke from that. But again, otherwise, very much a clear sky overhead. There's proof of that looking from space straight down where we've got a nice quiet setup. Now, looking ahead, here is the game plan, because we have that storm system now across the Rockies into Texas. That's really one of two pieces we'll be watching. In the short term, this high pressure is rather strong. 1 in 10-year rarity to see a high pressure to this level. And it's not the only one that's showing up to this level, by the way, in our forecast. So this is a theme that is starting to show up, these large highs trying to build in across eastern United States. But this one in particular is allowing for the beautiful weather today. It allows for really cold nights like we will have tonight, like we've had the past few nights and mornings, where we will see a large temperature difference from downtown around the airport all the way to surrounding areas as we did today. The range was roughly about 17 degrees in Meade County to 30 at all international. When you have good radiational cooling set up like this, without the lack of a strong warm wind or really a cold wind, just a calm wind scenario and clear skies, it's a good setup to allow for a big temperature difference there. But that high pressure is the reason for that. It's our protector as well from keeping any storm system at bay, which is what it's doing to the one in Texas. And it's also the reason why the one in Texas can't go due east. It has to go south and go around the high, which is why it's going to move into the Gulf of Mexico eventually and up the East Coast. But more importantly for us, at least for a good chunk of the weekend, it's not so much that area of low pressure. It's actually the one located into areas of Canada that is going to drop in from the Midwest and approach our area as we head into Saturday. That's one of the reasons why we will have a rain chance that will start to go up as we into Saturday night into Sunday. The question is, will the two join, shake hands, or not? And that's been the big debate overall over the past several days since we've been tracking this setup. It has been evolving more and more to a more cohesive type of system, which is going to complicate things on timing and rainfall amounts for sure, from one end of the bluegrass state to the other. But let me show you at least a couple of model trends on this. We'll start with the Euro. It's got the piece moving into the Midwest. Again, that is fairly locked in on that idea of that moving in Saturday night. Timing on this, I'm thinking right now after 5, 6 p.m., after sunset, the light rain will develop and become a little more on the moderate side through the Saturday night window. As this low sinks to the southeast, there is a bit of an enhancement that will happen in a very narrow band as we get into Saturday night overnight. This is where rainfall amounts could exceed a half inch in a few areas. It's just hard to determine right now where that narrow band will be. It just briefly enhances right over wave country before the energy is basically absorbed and taken over by this low pressure, which is the one that's in Texas now, rounds the base there into areas of the Gulf of Mexico and heads up the Carolina coastline. That is where it becomes an absolute beast of a storm. This is probably going to cause more issues with coastal flooding and beach erosion than really any of the tropical systems have done this past season. So a lot of wind, especially along I-95 corridor, a lot of heavy rain. This is going to disrupt flights. Air travel is going to be a mess as we get into the latter half of the weekend into early next week. A lot of flights probably either be delayed or even canceled because of this kind of mess. So if you have friends or family that are coming in from these airports in the eastern seaboard, just make sure they're paying careful attention and have a plan in case there are cancellations that do develop. And that could transpire to more delays down the pike too, all the way across the other parts of the country. So be aware of that. Oh, hold on one second. Got a spammer. Let me get rid of that. Hold on. Let me see. Oh, don't click on it. Don't click on it. I don't know why it always pops up like that. Sorry, guys. All right. Got it taken care of. We're good. Todd, I see your comment, by the way. No severe weather. I do not see any severe weather with this, which is good because we will be on the colder side, being on the northwest side of this. All the thunderstorm action, if there will be any, is going to be across really Florida. I really don't see much of a thunderstorm scenario other than Florida out of this. This is really just a heavy rain and wind setup for the eastern seaboard. I tell you what, if this was colder, this would be a blizzard that would be heading through the mid-Atlantic all the way into the northeast part of the country. Rain and wind is bad enough, but boy, it would be a completely different storyline right now. And this would include Kentucky if it were colder, but it's not. It will be instead a cold rain, which is lovely, right? The wind will ramp up with this as well as it moves up the eastern seaboard. But here's where we've got the third piece. We've got piece number 1 through the Midwest. Piece number 2, the Gulf low. Piece number 3 is yet another clipper that is going to dive in as we head into Sunday night and Monday. Now, this one is going to be highly dependent on whatever happens here between number 1 and number 2, because as it tries to stay a little more inland and becomes a stronger and slower, deeper area of low pressure, it will try to force this next clipper to dig right in behind it into the Ohio River Valley. That would allow for a very sharp blast of cold air, and cold enough to where any rain showers would then mix with or even change to snow showers as we went into Monday night and Tuesday. Not all the data agrees with this scenario, and that makes sense because they're not all going to have how piece number 1 and number 2 evolve correctly, or at least they have a different idea of how number 1 and number 2 will move through the country, which then affects, of course, number 3. Does that all make sense? I hope it does, because it is complex. So that's the reason why this snow chance for Monday, we've got to figure out what's going to happen before we really can nail that down. But it does at this point, all the data indicate a very windy scenario that will develop as we head into a Monday as the slow moves by. So be aware of that. Once we head beyond this mess for Saturday night all the way into Monday, we will then enter a quiet period all the way through the first day of winter. But that will then lead to some issues that may develop as we head toward Christmas. All right. So here is the GFS idea. Very similar overall on the rain that'll be moving in Saturday night and Sunday. Again, a lot of that is pretty solid on this idea. They just, again, generally vary on the rainfall amount, but I would say a quarter to a half inch type of scenario is what we're looking at here. It depends on how that band evolves. It may enhance a little more Saturday night, but again, we don't have a good handle on placement on that yet. We should in the next 24 hours, but we're not quite there at that moment. But it does transfer over to the low and heads up the eastern seaboard. It is a little more west, although the latest GFS runs trying to go a little more to the east again. So again, it varies a little on how this track will go. And this is a bit unusual. Normally, we would see these lows that would track right along the coastline into the Gulf Stream, right in this area of the country. We would see a typical strong low pressure develop. And that still may happen, but I think it's because we have this clipper that's diving in here on Saturday night. It's just trying to create what I always call like the dumbbell effect. It's kind of rotating, pulling the storm back a bit. And that's the reason why we could get some rain out of that second system on Sunday, but it would only depend on how far west it goes. And it may only include part of Kentucky. So you could get a rain Saturday night from the first system. And if the second one does develop a little more west, you will have additional rainfall from that one. And therefore, you could see easily 1 to 2 inches of rain out of this kind of setup. But we just don't know yet how much of you guys in wave country will be into that zone yet. Eastern Kentucky is certainly a little more risk than Western Kentucky will be. That's pretty easy to figure out, but the finer details will matter, and we'll be working on that. It does move it to the north and east after that, but it's progressive enough that where when that clipper, the third piece, does drop down, it really doesn't have a much of a staying power or dig into the Ohio Valley. It does get colder, and there could be flurries, but overall, it's not that impressive with it. It's so progressive that it just moves it on by, just a quick little wave and gone. And then we quiet down again toward the rest of the autumn season, which ends next week as we head to the first day of winter. But then here we go. Here's Christmas Eve. And this is one of the scenarios that is interesting. As I mentioned, that large high pressure that we have over us now, I'm seeing signs that one or maybe even two more will try to drop down through the rest of the year across the northern plains into parts of the Great Lakes. And that's important because the same scenario may play out or repeat itself, where we end up with these systems moving in across Texas that get stalled out a bit. They really can't move further to the east, or they have to go to the south. Now, the good news about that is it would then cut down on any thunderstorm potential as we head toward the holidays. I'm not totally sold on this idea of warm air net anymore for the rest of the year. I don't think it's overly cold. Don't get me wrong, but I don't see anything that's like, oh, wow, that's a really warm Christmas and New Year's coming our way. Again, not as confident on that as a few days ago when it was trending. I think overall it will be just cold enough to make it interesting. And that's where these highs will come into play. If this high does build down, or any high pressure does, as we head into the Christmas Eve through New Year window, these low pressures will try to build east, but the problem is they may not be able to get moisture all the way here. But if they do, the leading edge of it may be something other than rain. Wouldn't that be something? What a storyline that would be if we were to see that happen. I know it's borderline wish casting. I get it. But I can't rule that scenario out just because we're seeing this anomalous high now that's in the area. I don't see why we may not see another repeating setup again over the next 10 to 12 days coming into play. Now, there's a risk. You get a large high like we have now. It could just be flat out dry. Nothing comes our way. Again, it could be a barrier, but it also can allow for some cold mornings, and you get a little bit of moisture trying to sneak in from the west. True snow lover here, right? True snow lover. But we'll watch it. Yes. So I'm saying there's a chance. There is a chance. So I'm not going to be all bummed out yet on this one. I still believe in Christmas miracles, right? Yeah, they can still happen. All right. So let's get into the wind scenario real quick. I want to mention that. Again, for Monday, that part, we don't know yet how cold this wind is going to be, but we know it's going to be a strong wind. I would say it's fair to say gusts of 30 to 40 miles per hour will be on the table. It will depend certainly on how deep that cold air does dig, but I do think it's going to be windy. If we end up being cold and we got winds to this level, whew, I mean, that's wind chills in the lower teens that could come our way. Ouch. That would certainly sting. And so here's the overall summary, the way that it's looking now. And we're going to go with the warm pattern today, at least warmer than it has been, warmer than normal. Mid-50s, upper 50s next couple of days. High clouds will stream in more tomorrow. Be aware of that. The weekend, again, rain. We'll see how it goes on Sunday. We got the wind scenario on Monday. We'll see if we can get anything other than wind to take place. Brief cold snap. Then we try to moderate, and then we'll just put a big flat question mark there as we get a little closer to the Christmas holiday. All right. So, any questions? Let's see. Adam. How's the drought status looking? Oh, I'm glad you asked. I tried to post this earlier. Hold on one second. What did I do with it? Hold on, bear with me. I'm getting there. It did change. I did post it on social media, but I know not everybody can see social media. So I'm aware of that. Okay, give me a second. I'll pull it up here. It did change slightly, only because of that heavy rain band we had the day that we had the severe weather in Tennessee, the tornadoes. We had the heavy rain here into the metro. So really that heavy rain band of about 2 inches was right across Shelby County, all the way through Fern Creek, Shepherdsville, Brooks, down to about Radcliffe. So that allowed you guys to get eliminated out of the drought status, but it still continues for everyone else. In fact, it did worsen just a tad bit for areas of Orange and Lawrence counties in Indiana, and really no change in southern Kentucky. So this rain this weekend, I'm hoping will eliminate a little more of this map next Thursday when it comes in. But thank you for asking. Good question. Let's see. Would you say, Kathy, snow flurries for Christmas, so be happy. Or if it's warm, the kids can play outside. Or you can send the outlaws. The in-laws, or they could be outlaws. I don't know. You can send them outside if they get be a little too much. Anyway, I'm tired. I really shouldn't have tried to talk today. Bradley, is the Geminids in the peak tonight? That will be. That was last night, but it is ongoing for another 10 to 12 days. Hi, Myron. Sorry. How are you? Oh, great. Now she's going to interrupt me. Hi. How are you doing?
Look at your time.
How you doing?
Oh my God, he never hugs me, everyone. This is a rare occasion. I think I'm gonna cry.
Special day. Special day. It's good to see you, Myra.
Now my day is complete.
She doesn't mean that. She's so funny. And you saw how really short she is. All right, so the meteor shower will be ongoing all the way about Christmas Day. We will have the chance to see some meteors. So we do have more opportunities to see it, Bradley, in the next few days. So that's some good news, right? And I know several have seen the meteors. You got to go out late at night, but you're able to see some as you venture out there. All right, any other questions I can try to answer while I'm on here before I tackle more of the midday data and stress out even more for the extended outlook. Oh, thank you for that. Yeah, I got. You guys probably can't see it, but that is a Bichon right there, which is dandy, and then Yorkie, not exactly a Yorkie poo, but a Yorkie that is on my ties. One of my favorite Christmas ties. Gotta love the doggies. All right. I'll tell you what, guys. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to look through this midday trends for this weekend. Let me just make sure to stress again for you guys to stay close to the forecast, changes and updates over the next few days. If you have weekend plans, I'm telling you, this is going to keep evolving. And there's a chance, too, that Gulf system may not bother us too much on Sunday, and we only just have to deal with the Saturday night overnight rainfall. But that can easily change over the next 24 hours. The next 24 hours are key on important data that is rolling in right now, and we should be able to narrow that down. And for snow lovers, hang in there. Hang in there. We're almost to the point where I do think it's going to get a little more interesting and exciting down the road, right? And we'll keep an eye on that Monday wave. I'll see you guys soon.